What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another installment here of Honest and Uneducated, the show where we talk about anything from movies, movie news, comic books, video games, all sorts of fun stuff like that. Also, I mentioned earlier, not earlier, but the other day on our stream, we are going to be bringing back, if you go back and look at our first uploads here in the channel, they were a lot of statue reviews, some premium format ones, and then the budget series. We're going to be bringing that back. And the first one that's going to be a part of the, I guess I don't know if you would consider it budget or premium, because it's kind of it's like the fine line, but it's going to be a hot toy. I got the Prestige Batman version from the Arkham Knight game. So he's in the black and gold. It's a dope looking suit. It looks great. I got that. Haven't opened it yet. So going to have an unboxing and a review of that here coming soon. So look forward to that. And we got plenty more stuff. As you can see, I got tons of stuff that I can review here. And this is just small fraction. So I'm excited to bring those back. But joining me today to get through this show, this installment of Honest and Uneducated here, is none other than Rick Metz himself. How you doing today, Rick?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm good, man. Like I said, I got that.
I'm stoked on that Batman.
I know I got that Batman in. Like you said, man, it's hard not to open it.
Well, it's gonna be cool seeing your actual reaction as you open it.
That's why I'm doing it for everybody watching. Like I got the hot toy. It's my first hot toy. Like I've been able to not open it. It's actually quite difficult.
Yeah.
Like
I've never seen Hot Toys in person, so I'm excited.
I've seen it plenty in person because our good man John Knight here himself has plenty of, I don't know about plenty, but you have a good plethora of hot toys.
I've got a handful up there that the bug got me and it hasn't let go yet. So I actually ordered 2 just this week. So yeah, it's a thing once you get into it.
Yeah, that's why I've somehow, I mean, it didn't work for everything. Like I've accumulated and amassed quite a collection of statues and other figures of just many varieties. But I always was able to withstand the urge to get hot toys just because I knew it's a very expensive rabbit hole. Like it's not just a rabbit hole; it becomes a pricey one. Which ones did you just order this week?
So we've got, you actually ordered one, and then when I heard you order and when you told me that it was sold out in a different version, I had to order it myself. The Hot Toys 40th anniversary Empire Strikes Back version of Darth Vader.
That's cool.
And I would have gotten that on my own, but the thing that really pushed me over the edge is they've announced that they're coming out with a Bespin Luke, and I'm going to get that. I mean, there's no way I'm not going to get that because it's going to have, it's going to have the severed hand feature, which is pretty morbid, but also just like such an iconic thing and moment from that series that I knew I'd have to have that. And so if you're going to have that, then, I mean, where are you going to pose them opposite of if you don't have your Darth Vader, right? So you have to have the Darth Vader to go with the Luke. And so that'll
have to.
And then there you go. You have to.
You have to do it just for this, man. You got to do it.
I like the stand.
Yeah, and it comes. Yeah, because Vader comes with the scaffolding there and everything. So
I anticipate them having a nice little display base that's related to that for Luke. So hopefully the whole thing.
Do they have lightsabers light up?
Yeah, they have. The way they do it with the lightsabers is they have an alternate hand that has the battery built into that hilt. So the hilt's fixed to the alternate hand that has the light on it. On the quarter scale figures, like the quarter scale Darth Vader, it's big enough to actually have the whole battery housed in the lightsaber hilt. So it's actually just, you get the one saber that actually can light up. Yeah. But the other ones, like the 6 scale, the batteries, they're too big to actually put in the hilt. So that's the only downside to them, is that the battery's part of that hand. So you gotta take the arm off just to get the light up on in, as opposed to just turning it on. But either way, it's cool enough just to be able to have the option to light them up. They obviously don't look this good lit up. Like, don't let that's CGI. It's Photoshop kind of thing, not CGI, but it's Photoshop to make it look like they're illuminating much more. But they still look pretty good, all things considered, being lit up. So yeah.
And then yesterday, they put up a promo code for New Year's Day, which I just don't see a lot of promo codes for them. Now, I don't shop there every day or every week, just because if I did, I'd find myself in huge debt. But I rarely see promo codes for them, and they put one up yesterday for about $20 off, which was about 10%. It basically covered the shipping of the in-game Avengers in-game Black Widow, which I love Black Widow character. I have Scarlett Johansson. I may have a slight thing for, and so
Most do.
anyway,
Yeah, I was gonna say, who doesn't?
I, I had to jump on that one. I've been looking at that one for months now, and so when I saw the promo code, I was like, "Well, shoot, I might as well just go ahead and do that too." So
Good choice.
those are my two that are coming soon.
Can't blame you.
Last thing I was going to say about the lightsabers too, I just forgot, but it came back to me. I like that they give you the alternate blade that looks like it's actually being swung.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
And it actually looks better than you'd think it would.
Oh yeah,
Like, because when you look at it, you just like, I don't think I would really use it. But like, no, it actually, it does look pretty decent. Like with the little action pose that you get out of it. So yeah, they're definitely pretty cool. So yeah, look forward to that. We obviously, between all of us here, we have a plethora of things that we could be reviewing to sharing with everybody. So we're gonna be bringing those back. So, and like I said, starting with the Batman Arkham Knight Prestige Edition, which I'm very excited for. It's my first hot toy, and that alone is pretty exciting. So
yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's some other ones I announced too, but I'm not going to have them for a while. But if you go back and watch the most recent stream we did on either Friday or Saturday, the information's there. Elsewise, you can just wait till it happens because it's going to be a little bit, but they're coming. So don't worry. But let's get into our first topic here. But first, before we do, don't forget, guys, you can submit topics and questions to the show by emailing us at honestanduneducated@gmail.com. That's honestanduneducated@gmail.com. With that down and out of the way, let's move into this first topic here. And the first one has to do with the DC Universe and the direction they're going now, the DCEU, whatever they want to call it now. I never knew why it got dubbed the DCEU when it was already DCU. Like it was always, that's just what it's been, DC Universe. I don't understand who dubbed it that.
I'm assuming that was internal jargon that they were using to distinguish between the comic universe, which has been forever referred to as the DCU. So I'm assuming that in order to differentiate between the film universe and just the regular comic universe, to create a difference between those two, that they drop that E in there, but you're right, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, yeah, because you'd think if anything it'd be like DCCU for DC Cinematic Universe, or DCFU, DC Film Universe,
DCFU,
or
which has its own connotation problems when you say it.
Yeah, but I heard too that like the DCEU part was somebody from Warner Brothers was like questioned on it at one point, and I can't remember if this was a legit article or not, but I feel like I'm remembering this in my head. But this person at least commented on and said that wasn't something they came up with. Like some writer or something like wrote an article and referred to it as that, and it just
stuck.
It went viral essentially. Everybody just like started calling it that. I just never thought it made any sense. DC Extended Universe, because it's not extended, it's the same universe.
Yeah.
Like it's just the same thing.
It is what it is.
Yeah. But anyway, in regards to this, there was a kind of a Walter Hamada had an interview here, the new big man over at DC and Warner Brothers. He did an interview and he shared quite a bit of information in regards to where the DC film portion of the DC universe is going to be kind of moving forward, what their new roadmap is. And some of it's pretty ambitious, and which kind of is hesitant. And I'm hesitant with it in some ways, because if you remember, like, I don't know, for the past couple of years, it hasn't happened in the past couple of years, but like 4 or 5 years ago at Comic-Con, they announced this massive slate of like the Flash movie, and then the Cyborg movie, and then God, I can't remember, the Batgirl movie, I think, and just like a ton of stuff that has not happened. Like,
really.
Half the things they announced, and they had logos did up for all these things and everything. It was like, bam, here it is. And none of them have came to pass. Like, I don't think a single thing that was actually announced on that, like, list at Comic-Con has come out yet, and a lot of it's been straight up canned to begin with. Like, Cyborg, they're not making a Cyborg movie. And then Ray Fisher just recently said that he's, like, done, and he's not gonna come and work for Warner Brothers anymore.
That's it's interesting you say that because there was just an article today, I think maybe, where he lent his support to revive the DCEU. There's apparently a trending hashtag of revive DCEU or something, and that he got behind. And so yeah,
So weird.
he seems to be all over the place with what he's doing. Like he hates Warner Brothers because of the way he was treated on Justice League,
Uh-huh.
but he's all in on Zack Snyder's Justice League and doing reshoots and stuff. I don't really know what to make of his position within the company, but also just within the universe itself.
Yeah, it's definitely an odd form of, like, not really marketing because it's just some guy's opinion essentially, but, like, it's an interesting thing for someone to do in regards to, like,
I mean,
his employer in some ways.
yeah, it's the weirdest employee-employer relationship ever. Like, on the one side, they're like best friends, and he's all gung ho about it when it's Zack Snyder's portion of it. But if
Yeah.
it's anything else, it's like, I hate you, I don't want anything to do with you, and you guys are a terrible company. So it's a very strange.
Yeah.
It's a weird
Still don't know
relationship.
what's going on there. Yeah,
Yeah, and then, like, 'cause he even said too, if I'm remembering this quote correctly from him, he said that, like, Walter Hamada is, like, the worst kind of, like, executive or something. Like, he literally, like, name dropped Hamada and called him out. And it's because he was, like,
yeah.
he called him being, like,
Because
just very deceptive or something. Your cam froze,
well,
by the way, John.
he said something about Hamada asking for him to throw Johns under the bus, um, or something, or to like, I don't know, to save Jeff Johns, to say like Jeff Johns didn't do anything bad to him, as long as he would say that, as long as they would say that like Joss Whedon and somebody else were, I don't know, it was a big weird thing.
Just yeah, I don't know. They gotta get their stuff in order there. Like, their film division has been kind of a mess for quite a bit of time now. They
Oh
definitely
yeah.
got it. So I'm hoping everything since Hamada has taken over, it's been more successful than it has not been. I don't know if it's necessarily been more successful than it was before, but it's at least, if they were sinking, then they're at least, they're steadying the
Treading
ship.
water.
Yeah, they're okay. I mean, a lot of Wonder Woman 84 was standing because that's, like, kinda going back to the old BVS and Man of Steel days where it's just divisive, you know? Like, half the people love it, half the people hate it. So it's kind of another one of those, but not to such extremes that
Yeah.
BVS and, Man of Steel got. Like, I don't know. It's a weird situation, and I'd rather it go back to, like, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Shazam. Everybody loved them, like, for the most
Yeah.
part, like, and they were all great. So we need to get back to there. Now, Hamada in this interview has come out and said a couple things. Like, one, um, they're pretty much saying that the Justice League Snyder cut is, I think it was referred to as a cul-de-sac. Like, it's not a way forward. It's,
Standalone.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, just like essentially kind of insinuating that there's not going to be anything more to come from it.
Yeah, it's just in its own little bubble, and
That's it.
Such a weird way to say it, though. I
It
mean,
is.
come on, why not just call it a dead end? I mean,
I know.
if when you say
Yeah.
cul-de-sac, I mean, you could turn around in a cul-de-sac and come back out the way you went in.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
if this is truly the end, and they want to give the impression that this is the end of that, I almost feel like that word is intentional, in that, depending on the response to it, depending on what their streaming numbers, what they want to get out of it, and what their highest expectations are, if they start hitting those highest expectations, if they don't do something with Zack Snyder and ask him, because clearly there's people, Zack and people around him, that are interested in continuing this.
Oh yeah, and this thing with I mean, with everybody, especially in this industry, I mean, money talks. So
Yeah.
they can say whatever they want, but if this thing
Yeah,
comes out and just blows the roof off, and HBO Max can turn their stuff around due to this thing,
Yeah.
it's not a cul-de-sac. They're building in an addition. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're gonna keep this thing going if it's gonna make them money, whether they like it or
Well,
not.
True.
and money talks, but in this day and age, streaming money talks even louder. I
Oh,
mean, if
yeah.
you get streaming money going, then you're just you can kind of write your own checks wherever you want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then too, the more ambitious portion of this whole article was it was kind of teased upon. Hamada himself kind of commented on this during the DC fandom event that they had, where they're going to be leaning into the DC multiverse, and he kind of expands on it here, and he just elaborates on it to say, in a fancy way, they're going to make standalone movies that are completely disconnected from everything else, like your Joker movie. They're going to continue doing that, but they're also going to be looking at things like um, replacing Ben Affleck's Batman character to continue Batman in that DCEU or whatever we're going to call it,
Yeah.
to continue the Justice League world, which was another odd thing because apparently it's a cul-de-sac,
You
but they're
just
also
called it,
going to
yeah.
keep going and make other things within that continuity. So I don't know, but like it's kind of confusing in that regard.
It's
But
it's
Tree
very
breaks
much
off.
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
It's like they're splitting hairs. They're,
Well, I think it's the kind of thing where again, it's like some things are successful within it, so they can't deny the fact that it's not this cul-de-sac. Because I mean, I think just like if they could just delete it and start fresh, they probably would. Like if it wouldn't, like if they could keep everything they had, but then delete all the bad stuff. I mean, who wouldn't
Yeah,
want
who
to?
wouldn't do that?
Yeah, who wouldn't? But because like Wonder Woman's a part of it, and Wonder Woman's been successful for him. Aquaman made him $1 billion. Like they're already moving forward with the Flash movie they've been trying to make for 4 years now. So it's like not really a cul-de-sac if you're going to keep building off of it. So that is kind of like I don't
I'll
know,
believe that.
confusing.
I'll believe the Flash movie. They keep talking about the Flash movie and talking it up, but
Mhm.
until I see, a daily reel from the first day of shooting or some still photography or some promo shots from it, I'm still not buying that movie's ever getting made.
Yeah, I
That
mean, it's
movie has
been
been
in production for
Yeah.
so long.
Yeah, and they've gone through like 4 writer directors. Like it's been a mess.
It's cursed.
Like it almost is like the Crow at this point. It's
Yeah.
becoming DC's Crow. Like
Ugh.
who funnily enough, the last person attached to the Crow was Aquaman himself. Like Jason Momoa was gonna be playing them,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that died, which I would have been kind of cool.
That would have
I
been
could
cool.
totally see him playing whatever his name. I can't even remember his name in the. It's like Jason something, right? I forget what his name is. I haven't seen The
Jason-
Crow in years.
Yeah, The Crow's a good movie.
Eric Draven was the
Eric Draven, that's who it is. Yeah, yeah. Because I knew it was something D, and I was like Jason. I don't know. Yeah, I love that first one though with Brandon Lee. That was good.
Yeah,
Stuff.
that was good.
That was a great movie. The other ones though, I mean, Edward Furlong came in at one point. It was
Yeah.
one of like the TV movie Crows.
I
That was a weird franchise, man.
don't care for Edward Furlong outside of Terminator.
Well, and American History X.
Oh,
he
in
was
American
good.
History X, he was good.
He was good in that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he
he
was.
good.
That's a good movie.
Yeah.
such a good movie.
Yeah, that's a great movie, dude. But anyway, with this stuff though, they're looking at so the Justice League stuff. They're obviously still going to do what works. Is like we said, money talks, and they're making money on it, so they're going to try to keep it going. Which explains why, in some way, like they're going to bring in a new actor to replace Ben Affleck, which I thought was interesting because it goes on to say that he's set to appear in the Flash movie, which even though this thing is cursed, the announcements that were made from it, the direction it seems to be going, does have me excited for it. So I do hope that movie is made because there's a lot of stuff they could do
It's
in
got
there.
potential.
I almost feel like they have to do it in some ways because they're wanting to do this multiverse thing. And that's a real easy way to introduce the general audience into it in a 2-hour movie. Just kind of ease them all in. Like even if like that's the only Flash movie they do, it'd probably be worth it for them to be able to just kind of literally spell it out for everybody that this is what's happening now.
Yeah.
So, but that movie is bringing Ben Affleck back as Batman. So I want that movie to be made, and it's also supposedly bringing Michael Keaton back as Batman. So I'm sure
That would
there's
be so cool.
there's other people out there who want to see it just because of those two reasons. Me being one of them, because with Keaton coming back, like I said, man, that opens the doors for them to do Batman Beyond with Michael Keaton. So since that's there, I want the movie to be made just so that door is open. But now. They're going to be looking at Hamada goes on to say that everything that they make with HBO Max being what direct to consumer in general for all these studios now being their big future game plan, if you will. They're looking at all their titles, like any of them that they're making. They're actually assessing everything and saying, okay, great, we're going to make this Joker movie. What can we do with HBO Max with? Is there anything that we can do on HBO to piggyback off of this? And we already are seeing that with the Robert Pattinson Batman film, because it was already announced they're going to be making the Gotham PD like prequel.
Oh yeah,
existing within the Robert Pattinson Batman world. So I do like that they're actually trying to plan stuff out in some ways, like that's reassuring to me. Just because obviously, like we've been kind of just saying here for the last 20 minutes, it's kind of a mess. And even when you are quoting people within their own company, it's confusing. Like because they're saying things, but then saying very contradictory things. And but this at least is a good plan and makes sense. And this was something that pretty much what I said that they should do. And I don't understand why Warner Brothers wasn't doing this when they came out and said they're going to release all their movies, the Warner Brothers movies, straight on HBO Max in 2021, and didn't tell anybody and all this stuff. It speaks to them being it being a mess there for one, but it's like they have this built-in, this easy way of marketing HBO Max by just saying that all their movies are going to be exclusive to HBO Max. They don't have to like pull them out of theaters and only do them on HBO Max. Like you can let them do their theatrical run and then say exclusively on HBO Max, like once they're out of theaters. And it's just like HBO Max in it of itself is its own built-in marketing if you do it right. And kind of with that, using your already existing properties to further market your product by building in exclusive content off of it is just that's what they should be doing. That's what Marvel's doing with Disney Plus. Like they have the MCU stuff and they're looking at everything they can do to continue expanding on it on Disney Plus. And that's why, I mean, that sounds good. I like that they're doing that with the DC titles and HBO Max. It makes sense. So I'm just glad to hear some form of, I don't know, common sense thought come from them. That's not
I'm very reserved. I've been reserved on everything. The only thing I would not be reserved on when it came to DC EU news is if they were to say they've signed Henry Cavill to play Superman in a Man of Steel sequel. That would be the only news where I'd be all in and be like, I don't care what they do with this. This is going to be the best thing ever, blah, blah, blah.
100%.
Everything they announced now, though, I'm just like, even this announcement, like you said, on the surface, it sounds really good. It sounds like they've kind of put some common sense behind what they're doing. Yes, let's tie into HBO Max. Let's support that platform because it's integral to our success. But when you look at it, they're talking. Hamada said they are looking to do 4 feature films a year that release to theaters, 2 films that are direct to HBO Max, and then in addition also have tie-in series to film properties that go to HBO Max. That is a hugely ambitious project or prospect for a company that has been able to get out less than half a dozen, maybe a half a dozen superhero films in the past half decade, 6 years. I mean, Marvel, you look at the content that Marvel's been able to put out, and you've got dozens of films that have come out. DC has barely managed to scrape by, 6, I think, films over the past half decade or even, 6-7 years. And the films that they have come out have varied greatly in quality. So I'm really worried that this is a quantity over quality prospect, or that they just don't hit it, that they're promising something that they just can't deliver on. I mean, we just got done talking about how long the Flash has been in development hell. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I am, because I love DC. It's my superhero universe as much as I love Marvel, and but if I have to rank them, DC is above Marvel for me, just because I grew up with Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and Super Friends cartoon show.
I remember that.
That's where I got that's where my roots are in comics. And so
they got a lot to live up to, like with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So DC's they got some work to do.
Oh yeah,
they do, and I hope that they can get the ship right in. I hope that this all comes, but man, until they give me reason to believe, I have a hard time with all these announcements.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that's one of the crazy things. You bring up the Henry Cavill situation. Like, there's a lot of people out there, me one of them, who's just like, how are we getting a Wonder Woman 3 without a Man of Steel 2?
Yeah,
Man of Steel launched this whole thing, and we still haven't got a Man of Steel 2. And I mean, the answer is simple, because if you go back to what I said before, money talks. And Wonder Woman came out and was not divisive. Was unanimously liked by critics and audiences, and it made $800 to $900 million. But then you have Man of Steel come out, was split down the middle with love and hate between audience and critics, and it only made about 600 million or something.
Yeah, but here's the. Go ahead, I'll let you finish.
Oh no, I want Henry Cavill back as Superman. Like, that's what I want. Same movie, masterpiece,
made for that role.
Here's the thing about that, though. Wonder Woman had the benefit, and Aquaman 2 had the benefit of appearing in Batman versus Superman, even to a small extent, and establishing the tone and the feel of what the DCEU is, a more realistic, a grittier kind of look at superheroes. When Man of Steel came out, the last Superman movie we had before Man of Steel was Christopher Reeve's Superman 4: Quest for Peace, I think.
Superman Returns.
Superman Returns. You're right. I'm sorry.
Everybody forgets about that movie.
I tried to block it out, maybe.
I love the scene though with there's that one shot with it was in the trailers, and he's standing in front of the gunman, and he's got the gun pointed right to his face, and then slow motion shot with the eye. That's a great shot. Like,
beautiful piece of cinematography.
That's good. That's good. Otherwise, though, the movie sucks. But unfortunately,
Superman with a kid that's his, possibly, that he abandoned, and just some really, and Kevin Spacey just destroying the scenes
he was like Rita Repulsa in the Power Rangers movie, like that just came out. It's like they're making like a very grounded thing here, and this dude is, literally the animated, like more animated than animated Lex Luthor.
Yeah,
sure. But even that movie, Superman is still kind of the shucks farm boy that's trapped in the big city, and Man of Steel was something so completely different, and not different in a bad way, in my opinion, a lot of people's opinions. But it was so drastically different from what audiences knew before. Wonder Woman and Aquaman both had the benefit of having that tone and that shift at least presented to audiences before they had to have their own film come out. So it's not surprising to me that Man of Steel released to some discrepancies in audience and critical reviews. But now that tone has been established and people understand kind of what they're going for, I think that it's primed to do much better at the box office.
I agree, because I mean, everything going forward, and I think too, like, and I told you this, like, I said to you maybe a month or two ago, like, just off camera, we were just talking, like, it still baffles me how like Warner Brothers has not been able to make any sort of success, like, like unanimous success, we'll say, with the DC properties, like, kind of since even like if you go back to '89 Batman, everyone loved Batman, but then not a lot of people liked Batman Returns. It was very divisive, and it just is always not as divisive as the current climate, but this was a time before Twitter and stuff, so it probably was. You just didn't hear it. But it's always baffled me as how Warner Brothers has been able to squander like the most popular superhero characters in the world, in Batman, the Justice League in general, and then Marvel has been able to make 20 movies, all
One hit after
averaging
another.
$1 billion with the B team. They didn't even have X-Men. They didn't have Fantastic Four. They had the Avengers, and you all think the Avengers are cool and stuff, but that was like the C squad in the comics, dude. Nobody cared about Iron Man. Like,
Actually
Iron
they
Man cool.
canceled the Avengers at one point
yeah.
and gave all the characters over to Image Comics to retool because they couldn't figure out a way to get them to sell. But that's a great point about the DC movies. Beyond the Dark Knight series, you look at every DC series so far has had a diminishing return. The
Mhm.
first movie can do gangbusters, and the second one does okay, and then by the third one, they're just kind of falling off a cliff. They haven't done what Marvel does, and have just build and continually put out quality and increase that quality over time. It's amazing how poorly they've managed those superheroes.
Yeah. And it like you said, they can knock it out of the park here and there. Like Dark Knight, I mean Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, amazing. And then like Batman 89, great.
Yeah.
But then yeah, it's like every other movie at best is good. And it's like, but even so, even when you have those ones that are even like moderately successful, like they're still divisive in some way. Like they're not like the home runs that
The Dark Knight
The
is.
Dark Knight is, yeah,
Yeah.
because it's like Man of
Yeah.
Steel is like it's a masterpiece of a movie, man. I love Man of Steel. Like, just it's an amazing, it's just amazing movie. Superman aside, like if you just watch it as like a first contact alien
Yep.
movie, like
Yeah.
it's just a great movie with great imagery. It's awesome, and but it's like it's just somehow was divisive. Like it's I don't know, it's just crazy. It's crazy to me. And then Batman versus Superman, literally the two most popular superhero pop culture characters like arguably in existence. That movie should have made billions upon billions of dollars without even trying. And it barely came up with like 800 million. It's just like
People were expecting a lot with that too. Like when I remember when that dropped, just the idea of it, where they announced it, how much you freaked out.
oh yeah, I
Just like,
did.
holy shit.
I was fanboying hard for it.
Yeah.
Like, but it just and even I can find enjoyment in it, but even I mean, as biased as I may be, I know the thing has problems. I know it didn't live up to what it should be.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause I mean, the fans a lot of time, man, we're very fickle and we're very critical over things. And it's like I know a lot of people think that, like, as a fan, like you have what you think these characters should do, and I think
That's
this
what I
is
was
one
gonna
of the
say.
biggest problems with like Superman, and it's kind of like what you were getting at too. Like Christopher Reeve Superman and all this stuff. It's like the happy-go-lucky save a kitten from a tree Boy Scout dude, and everyone has that picture of their Superman in their head. So when they don't get that, they're just
They
turned
don't
off
like
by
it.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't want to accept it for what it is. They're deliberately rejecting it because of what it's not. And I can't really fault anybody for doing that, but I don't know. It's a shame that it happens on such a huge scale because like you miss out on a lot of good stuff. And
Yeah.
it's also the same goes for them making like the movie. Like they try to do something too drastically different or not true to a character and then expect it to be a success. Like it's not really going to work that way either. But I don't know. It's finicky, but I just hope they get it all in order. And for God's sake, we need a Man of Steel too. Like if they do nothing, like that's the other thing. They had all these announcements. No Man of Steel 2 information. Like
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
this stuff. We're gonna make 4 movies a year, 2 movies on HBO Max, spin-off series for everything, but just
And you
We're
can't
getting a Man
find
of
the
Steel.
time or money or effort to put behind a Man of Steel 2. I mean, come on.
especially now that Henry Cavill is popping off with like fans and stuff. Because I think a lot of people would say that like Henry Cavill is great as Superman, even if they don't like those movies he's in.
Yeah.
And even so now, like Henry Cavill is in other movies that are like unanimously successful. He's like Mission Impossible. He's headlining The Witcher.
Yeah.
Like
Sure.
so it's not a problem of people not liking Henry Cavill. Like I don't
Yeah.
think anybody dislikes Henry Cavill. They might not like the way Superman was written, but I think for the most part everybody likes Henry in the role. So I mean the rumor does have it that J.J. Abrams is supposedly working on a Superman movie and is planning on bringing Henry Cavill back, but nothing is confirmed. There's just whispers about it. And I don't know.
J.J. Abrams.
Yeah.
That's
So I'm on the fence about it just because of I don't want to hold Rise of Skywalker against him, but he did make the movie. So I got to hold him responsible for something, but I'm not the biggest fan nor like hater of I'm very neutral on JJ Abrams. He can make some enjoyable stuff and he can also kind of drop the ball on some stuff too. So he does make beautiful films though, because if anything I can say, Rise of Skywalker is a great movie to watch on mute.
yeah,
Like,
visually it's
it
great.
looks stunning. Kind of like Zack Snyder. He is a very similar. He is a very good like visual storyteller. He has amazing imagery in all his movies. Some of them don't have the best dialogue or aren't the very like Sucker Punch kind of thing. Like not really a good movie, but it looks great.
Visually, it looked awesome.
Yeah, but it looks amazing. So I just hope they get their stuff in order. Because like I said, they got the best. I mean, it is subjective opinion, but like in my opinion, I mean, like you said, DC characters are those are my superheroes. You know, what I mean, like that's what I resonate with. Like,
Yeah.
and I love the Marvel stuff. I love all stuff.
You've always liked DC way more.
Yeah, I've always been a DC fan. Like Batman's my dude, and then I mean Spider-Man's my other dude, and that's over on Marvel side. But those are my two dudes.
Spider-Man's a good guy.
Spider-Man, okay, he's a good little fella. I think that pretty much covers everything with this, though. I mean, the only other thing is like they go on to say, like that cul-de-sac quotes down here. I mean, I'm still looking forward to the Snyder cut. Like, I hope that turns out good. In some ways, I hope it's a major success because I would like to see it go on. And just like I really want to see this Man of Steel too. Like, if we could get that Ben Affleck solo Batman movie, like him fighting Deathstroke on HBO Max or something, like
That'd be sick.
let's do that.
That would be sick.
Like, or like a 4-part miniseries, and they can do the backstory of Joker killing Robin, and then do the Deathstroke stuff, and then he can retire. Like, good, do it.
You realize we're only what a week and a half, 2 weeks away from WandaVision, and then by the time that might be ending right around the same time that Zack Snyder's Justice League premieres, because he mentioned that there's the rumors out there, and he even said something about it premiering in March. So we could be right on the verge of having a good stretch of 2 to 3 months of pretty big superhero content being released.
Yeah, for sure, because WandaVision's like the 15th, right? And then they did say March. I don't know what day. I don't know if it's beginning of March or end of March, but I can't remember WandaVision's 6 or 8 episodes. So, I mean, it's still 1 to 2. Either way, about a month and a half or 2 months. So, yeah, we'll be close. Right after WandaVision, we can roll right into that. So, for sure.
And then after that, we can roll into Falcon and Winter Soldier, and we can have an entire year's worth of superhero content if we can figure out a way to just line those dominoes up right.
Well, the Black Widow.
Make up for 2020.
Yeah, for sure. If anything, that could, as long as everything can roll out on schedule, like on the new schedule for 2021, it will be pretty. I don't think we'll be starving for content.
No, it'll be stacked.
In a world where literally this year we only had like Bloodshot. What else was a comic? Birds of Prey.
Right.
What else was there? There was only like 4 or 5. Like I don't even remember what they were. Like so, obviously there weren't any standout.
Yeah.
Oh, Wonder Woman.
That's right. We are counting that as 2020. Yeah.
Very lackluster year of comic book movies. Like TV popped off though. We had The Boys. We had Doom Patrol.
Mandalorian.
Yeah, Mandalorian. We had Umbrella Academy. There was good stuff on TV, but in the movies, the movie comic book superhero department, like it was hurting without them Marvel movies. Not a whole lot going on. But guys, well, what do you think? That's the question here. What do you think about all of these, all these comments made by Walter Ramada, and what do you think that their plans here, DC's plans that they have going forward here, is a little bit too ambitious? Are you looking forward to them nonetheless, at least to see which ones actually stick? They did go on to say real quick before I forget, they're going to be looking at like smaller characters to put on like the HBO Max ones, and they referenced like Batgirl and Static Shock as being a couple of those potential maybe straight to HBO Max movies and things like that, which I would like to see them actually branch out and do some of those more obscure ones. And I'd say HBO Max is a pretty good place to put it. But I mean, either way, I'm excited for them to actually have some sort of game plan. My only fear, kind of like John was saying too, is that it's just a little bit ambitious, and we were kind of scorned by them a couple years ago at Comic-Con when they had that massive slate of all their future movies coming out, and none of them came to pass. So I'm just hoping that's not the case here, but only time will tell. But let us know what you guys think about that down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So our next main topic here is a quick one, but a good one in a lot of ways for a lot of people, I guess you could say. I hope it's well, I'll give you my speculation here once I actually get into it. So recently, in a tweet, our boy James Gunn, he confirmed to a fan at least. So we'll see if the studio kind of goes against this when the time comes. But at least as far as James Gunn is concerned right now, his Suicide Squad is indeed rated R. So I mean, there's always the chance that Warner Brothers could say no. And like we just went on about for about 40 minutes, they're pretty they play it pretty fast and loose over there. You never know what they're going to do. So it's definitely possible that they could switch this up on them and say, kind of pull the whole BVS situation on Zach, where it's just like, you got to cut all this, 30 minutes out. It's got to be 2.5 hours. Like, don't care if it's going to make the movie worse. It's got to be 2.5 hours. They like to play it fast. They even tried to do that with Patty Jenkins on WW84. They tried to get her. John, actually, I wanted to tell you this. Did you hear, sorry to switch topics real quick, but did you hear that they actually they wanted Patty to remove the opening Amazonian scene, the opening, like, first 20 minutes of the movie, maybe 15 minutes. But they wanted that cut from the movie, and then they wanted the mall scene cut from the movie. Like both.
I did not hear that.
Yeah.
Odd considering that those are two of the more, for a movie that people are critical for how little action is in them. It's odd that they would go for those two scenes.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I felt the Amazon sequence at the opening was, I mean, story wise, it doesn't serve a huge purpose.
It's like the best scene.
But I felt like it was pretty. Yeah, exactly. Like even the people that are critical of the movie feel like that is a decent scene.
Yeah, it's super odd.
One of the better parts of the movie. So
is that where she's
odd
a kid?
choice.
Yeah. So yeah, it opened.
Interesting.
Did you ever watch it?
No.
You never got to. Yeah, but yeah, it opens up the same way. It's not like a different scene, obviously, but the first Wonder Woman opened up the same way with her as a kid, like a flashback thing. And again, like just like in the first one, it was like a cool scene, and I like being at Themyscira. It's cool. Like I don't know how on board I am with like a Amazonian spinoff. Like I just don't know how compelling it would be without Wonder Woman. I don't know. I wouldn't be like buying the Amazon comics. I buy the Wonder Woman comics because like I like Wonder Woman. You know what I mean? I don't like Themyscira's great atmosphere. I don't know, like if you got a good story though, I'll watch it. I'll obviously watch the movie if they actually end up making the movie. But kind of like Black Widow and Hawkeye, I never really cared if they had their own movie, but I love them in movies. Like they're great characters. In the Black Widow movie, actually looks great, and it was a really great movie to throw Taskmaster in because like otherwise, what was he going to do? So I mean, it all makes sense. So I definitely like what they're doing. And point being, they came up with a good story to suit that character. So I'm on board with it. So maybe they could do with that. I don't know. Regardless, this movie, Suicide Squad, James Gunn Suicide Squad, I am greatly looking forward to. I mean, the work he did on Guardians, and we said this before, but as long as he brings those James Gunn sensibilities that he brought,
those elements,
just throwing that into an R-rated environment, which is what he really comes from, and just playing like him being able to play real fast and loose with stuff, with all these off-the-wall characters, I'm greatly looking forward to. So I hope that the Warner Brothers just lets him do his thing, and I feel like the reason he got like this movie was because of the whole situation with Disney just firing him out of nowhere because of those tweets. So everybody just lined up to get him to come work for them once that happened. And he chose to do this with Warner Brothers, and he specifically chose Suicide Squad, was offered Superman. So we know that's another point we didn't really talk about, by the way. He was offered Superman. So they are thinking of Superman.
Yeah, they would be if you offered it to him.
Exactly. So they are thinking about it. Even Kevin Feige, when him and James Gunn spoke, and he told when James told Kevin that he was going to be making a DC movie, the first thing he asked is if it was Superman. So even Kevin Feige wants a Superman movie. DC, okay, maybe make the damn movie. Okay, everybody wants
You
the
direct
movie.
it.
Yeah, that'd be a bad movie, but I would do it just to get it done. Okay,
You could come up with a good story, I feel like.
I could definitely come up with a story. And I mean, I can shoot some stuff with a camera, but I mean, I just wouldn't know what anything is.
Like never directed a movie before, no idea.
I'll tell you where to put I'll do the cinematography, but I'm not going to do anything else. I can't make the actors act. Like I could not do the director part. I could film
that's
some
an
stuff.
intense job, really, if you think about it.
Director has a lot of stuff to do, man. Like I could film it, but I'd probably not direct it too well. I'd be in a really uncomfortable situation. But I don't know. What do you guys think about this? You think it's gonna? I think it's gonna keep the rated R thing, just because, like, I think Warner Brothers was just like, you can do anything you want, just come make a movie here. Because, like,
I think it's cool, honestly, that it'd be rated R, because it'd just be that much more visceral and graphic and intense.
I hope. What I was gonna say off the top was, I hope it's not the rated R for the sake of being rated R, like Harley Quinn was.
Yeah.
That movie did not need to be rated R. It was.
Why was it rated R?
So they could say the F word a couple times.
Yeah.
Like, there was none of the action was R rated. None of the, even like the situations that like Deadpool would be in, like getting pegged on National Women's Day, like that stuff wasn't even in the Harley Quinn movie.
Yeah,
I think Deadpool was the exact reason the Harley Quinn was rated R. I think
100%.
DC saw how the fourth wall breaking, kind of irreverent anti-hero was so popular with Deadpool. I think and Harley Quinn has some of that in her comics. Some of the comics that they've done with her have been mature rated comics, and it works well. And as we also have seen the success of the animated Harley Quinn show on DC, on what was the DC Universe app and now HBO Max. I mean, they're done right. It can be hilarious and a great show. Unfortunately,
that
for the
stuff,
movie,
I thought that stuff worked in the movie. The fourth wall breaking stuff, like, it really lends itself to I thought that worked.
Yeah, that was great.
It was good.
The whole movie didn't match up to the quality. I would say it didn't match up to the quality of the animated show. There's something totally missing about it. That almost felt forced in the movie. That it didn't feel like that. But regardless, I'm glad they're making it rated R. I think that this was probably a condition or a something that they came to terms or agreement on when James Gunn came over. He was like, look, I want to make this movie. This is my idea for it. It's got to be rated R. I mean, I'm telling you right now, with what I'm going to shoot, it's going to be rated R. You can't make cuts to make it not rated R. And I'm guessing the DC said, yep, okay, that's fine. Now, maybe they're hoping, and they've got their prayers tied to the MPAA having a very soft day and giving them somehow squeaking out of PG-13, but I doubt that's going to happen. I have a feeling it's going to be pretty over the top and fun, but also intended for mature audiences. One small thing I mentioned real quick was I saw an article that said that with HBO Max and Warner Brothers doing their streaming concurrent with the release of the film, that it may remove any feelings on WB's or Warner Brothers' part to push for that PG-13, because they figure adults will be, they'll be the ones who may go to the theater still. But if teens want to watch it, or if younger people want to watch it, by putting it on HBO Max, that may incentivize people to sign up for it and see it that way. Or watch it as a family if teens want to go see it and they want their parents want to watch it with them or something, to talk through scenes that they're concerned about or something. So that the fact that it's releasing both on both platforms at the same time may lessen the desire for them to push for a PG-13.
Yeah, no, that makes sense too. And I know between the Suicide Squad, Dune, and there was one other one that might actually Warner Brothers might be backtracking on doing that release too. The day and date release with HBO Max. I know with Dune because Legendary is threatening to take them to court over it, and they would lose. So they're gonna have to do Dune in theaters for sure, unless they come up with a ton of money to pay them off. But I don't think Denis Villeneuve wants money from it. I think he wants it in theaters, and I think James Gunn's the same way. He already got his payday just to make the movie. He wants the movie to be in theaters, so I think they're gonna be in the camp of just making James Gunn happy, and that's why he's doing the R-rated movie he wanted to do, in my opinion. So,
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I wouldn't. If you hire someone to do a job, let them just do the job. Yeah, just let them do it. So I'm looking forward to it. You guys got anything else you want to add on that one?
Looking forward to it.
I know.
I think it'll be cool.
I can't wait, man. And it definitely means there's a ton of blood just sitting on our boy John Cena's leg here. So I mean, that's the stuff that makes it R-rated more so than a couple F-bombs when you actually, surprisingly, it's here with the MPAA, it's the blood and the sex that gets it R-rated, and like the F-bomb will do it, but it's just weird stuff.
Plenty of that in Deadpool.
Yeah, I mean, you could have tons of like decapitations and murdering and whatnots, but if you don't put the blood in, you're good. You get to keep the PG-13, but once you start showing the blood, it gets the R rating. So I just hope it's it's like when they blew up Slipknot's head in the first Suicide Squad movie. Spoiler alert! Like, I want to see some of that stuff, but like see it. You know what I mean? Make it worthy of the R rating. But again, not just for the sake of doing it, but you know what I mean. Like, if you're gonna do it, then just go all out and do that stuff too. You know what I mean? So, but anyways, guys, the question is, what do you think about this? Are you excited that James Gunn is pretty much being able to play in his own little sandbox here and make the R-rated movie that I think we all knew and expected would be coming from him? And do you think that not HBO, but Warner Brothers is going to try to rein this in and get a PG-13 rating from it? Or do you think they're just going to let James Gunn do whatever James Gunn wants to do? So let us know what you guys think down in the comment section below. All right, guys, so our next main topic here is going to bring us to an interesting article that came out. This is from CBR, but it's in reference to HBO's subscriber count seems to have, at least according to a report that they're quoting from Variety, it seems that they have lost roughly, HBO themselves has lost roughly 50%, 51% of their subscribers since the end of Game of Thrones, which this isn't like world-shattering news or anything, and we've talked about for like months now how HBO has kind of like squandered the whole HBO Max launch and how there's playing catch up with Disney as far as subscriber numbers go. And we're going to get into another article here that really breaks this down, all the streaming services subscriber numbers throughout this year. We're going to get into that in a minute, but this is just kind of dropped and just is kind of, I don't know, like, it's not like earth-shattering information, but it's definitely like interesting.
Yeah,
like the fact that 51% of a subscriber base is a lot of people, and like it doesn't say, it doesn't say what. Wait. Is this saying 12 million viewers? But okay, so yeah, the show drew in an increasingly large audience and broke numerous records, culminating in an average of about 12 million viewers by season 8. So you're looking at like 6.1 million people not subscribed at this point.
Yeah, I'm curious what these numbers are kind of.
Yeah,
I'm not
can't
sure.
speak to the numbers too much
Because here's the thing, like the 12 million, I thought I had read at one point that there were 12 million people watching Game of Thrones, like when it premiered, like the night it premiered on HBO. That doesn't take into account anybody that was watching on one of the streaming platforms or watching online or later viewers too. So this number, the loss of viewers may even be higher than the 6 million that's kind of implied to by this article.
Oh yeah, and I mean, regardless of that, because the numbers are going to be for one. Well, it'll be hard for unless HBO Max is just gonna, or not HBO Max, but HBO and Warner Bros. Is just gonna release their losses. Like, I mean, I guess they would have to because it's if they're publicly traded. But either way, that's not information that they normally just hand out to people. So the numbers are gonna be kind of like hard. You just kind of got to go off whatever anybody's going to give you. And so I guess all that they even had to go off of was, well, we had 12 million people watching it and they've lost 50. I don't know where they're coming up with the numbers, but still, when you look at the article, I mean, the article we're going to get into here in a little bit with their like overall numbers, that's a lot of people that they really shouldn't be like, they can't really afford to lose because like, they barely have, like, they barely got that much in October when HBO Max released, if I'm remembering that much. For them to have 12 million people watching for one show, and then them to go on and launch a new streaming service with all this new content and stuff, and then they were only able to rack in the viewership that they were getting for one show before. It's a pretty bad number.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, man, we'll get into it here in a little bit with once we get to the streaming article, but their biggest problem with this was just the damn marketing for it, dude. Like, nobody knows what HBO Max is, man. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
really.
But we'll get into that here in a little bit because that is literally one of the topics here we're going to get into. But what do you guys think about them losing roughly 51% after Game of Thrones? Do you think that's like bad, or do you think it's just a result of like literally just because like they didn't like Game of Thrones and they like
That's what I think it is. It's saying that up top. The conclusion of Game of Thrones resulted in HBO losing more than half of its adult audience. And I think a lot of people were really upset with the conclusion of Game of Thrones. But I don't know if that's enough to make you be like, screw HBO Max, you know?
No, because I
Just-
think it's more or less like once HBO or once Game of Thrones ended, they didn't have a reason to keep HBO.
Yeah. That's
Is-
like the only reason they used it.
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of both. I mean, not. I hate to say this because like first world problems, but I think a lot of people that subscribe to cable services or streaming services tend to have some extra disposable income. They're not like razor thin budgets to the point where if they keep or cut their that service each month, it's going to be, you know, the difference between them making their mortgage or not.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's what, and I feel like that's kind of what streaming services are banking on, is the fact that once they get people pulled in, they'll continue to hold them just because it's kind of a hassle to cancel it. It's kind of whatever. And so I think the idea that HBO lost half of their subscribers based on the conclusion it does say something about the fact that it was a popular show and once it was over, people didn't have a reason to. But I also do think it kind of indicts the ending of the show a little bit. It is kind of an indictment that half of the people were like, okay, I I don't see any value in this service. I didn't like the ending to this show. I'm not even going to give you the benefit of the doubt and try your other shows because of how poorly you ended this particular show that I had so much invested in. That they went through that trouble to actively cancel. I mean, half of their subscribers actively canceled based off of that. Which that kind of dovetails into my second point, which is, and I harp on it a lot, and maybe it's because of how still raw and emotional I feel about it. But the ending to that show was so mismanaged and so mishandled, that look at you're still feeling the fallout from it when you look at like HBO Max now. Can you imagine how much better position HBO Max would have been if they had figured out a way to get them to expand the ending of Game of Thrones and not rush it into two truncated final seasons? If they had let that show have the room to breathe, actually do what they were doing at the beginning, which is give each book its own season to play everything out in. If they hadn't rushed it and they gave it, 3 or 4 more seasons, heck, they could have launched HBO Max with either the final or the second to last season of Game of Thrones exclusive to HBO Max. And can you imagine what that would have done just hype wise and awareness wise for that platform? It's just everything about the way they handled. Yeah, everything the way they handled everything about the ending to that series just and yet again we're talking about Warner Brothers and them mishandling
Yeah.
something. It's mind-boggling that they're still, I say all this as a layman that has no idea what goes into this, and I apologize to all those people that work there and I'm sure they're doing their hardest every day and they're doing what they think is best, but at some point somewhere in the rung of responsibility, the ladder of responsibility, somebody has to look at this and just go, our past decade has not been good. It just
Mhm.
hasn't.
There's been a lot of hits, but then the misses have been really bad misses is the problem.
Catastrophic almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing, like, they're if I'd say honestly, if any other smaller, like, company had, like, the problems that they're having as far as division amongst fans and, just consumers, and then even with, like, the latest announcement that they had where their 2021 slate where they're not even, like, consulting with their talent, their artists working for them, not letting the directors even know and having discussions that to even, like, so little as inform them, let alone negotiate, like, contract stuff with them and, for, like, back end points and stuff, like, let alone just they didn't even tell people that they were gonna forego, like, movie theaters for all the movies that they've made next year. They're just gonna put them straight on the streaming service. Like, it's baffling that, like, if it was a smaller company, like, they'd be done by now. Like, if they didn't already have Warner Brothers money and AT&T money, and HBO wasn't already a successful platform for them, like, this would be a Quibi situation. Like,
Yeah.
in all honesty, like, it has been this it's
Great
just
analogy. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, like,
that's good.
it's just I don't it's mind-boggling. It goes back to what I was saying before where it's like, you got the best superheroes in the world, and you're just squandering it all. Like, just
Yeah.
making mediocre films, some good, some bad, making the weirdest choices, like no Superman 2, but you got
You
Wonder
really
Woman
stuck on
3,
that
and it's like, dude, I'll be stuck on that
until it's
until
made.
it's made.
Well,
Like,
Marvel's blown DC out of the water, and
right?
I think it was always the opposite with the comics. DC was always like the
Oh, yeah.
bigger animal, and it's weird to me that Marvel's been so successful and DC just hasn't been able to reach that sort of height, I
That's what I'm
guess you could
saying.
say.
And they like I said, they did it with the B team, the C team even.
Yeah,
Because like, Fox and Sony had control of their big guns.
they
Like
made the B and C team into the A team with the
exactly.
Avengers. Like,
Yeah. Which is, again, it's mind-boggling when you look at that, and then you look at well, Warner Brothers has all of the pantheon of DC characters, and it's like, it's not doing anything with it.
yeah,
It's crazy.
I'm not going to be able to remember, but I think I read an article years ago that talked about how whoever was the president of Warner Brothers Pictures or something wanted to make was really concerned that their movies that they release be considered like films with some sort of like abstract, unquantifiable element to them that made them somehow more prestigious than what Marvel was doing or something. And it sounded like just a BS, like somebody that's been in the industry too long, that has a much high opinion of themselves and of what they're doing. And like they felt like it was an art form, and their films had to be some form of art, and that Marvel's weren't for some reason, and that was why they were so hesitant to just put out stuff the way Marvel did. And it just anyway, it clearly it's not only hurt the company, it's now hurting the characters, and it's just
It's hurting the
disappointing.
brand, yeah.
Yeah,
Like, and then the choices they've been making as a company is not only just hurting their, like, their actual brands, like, their properties brand, it's hurting their own brand.
it's
Like,
ruining the
like
reputation.
yeah, the Warner Brothers
yeah.
reputation is, like, really taking a dive here. Like, literally, the Screen Actors Guild of America, or no, the directors, the DGA, I think it was a DGA, but they were talking about, like, essentially unionizing against Warner Brothers after there were the announcement they made here. It's like, so, like, eh, it's just like when you're making, like, literally all of the people, like, you're a production company, you're a movie distribution and production company, and you're literally actively pissing off and honestly shitting on all of the people that you employ. And not in a sense to where like they have to deal with it because there's nothing they can do. They won't work with you. Like the actors and directors out there will just go work with Sony. They'll go work with Paramount. They'll go work with Disney. Like they need the actors and the directors and the screenwriters out there. Like no one else necessarily needs Warner Brothers to make a movie. Like there's plenty of other production companies.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
plenty of them. So like yeah, it's just baffling to me. Like I don't know. They need to get the act together, like we said before. But anyways, as far as the Game of Thrones information here, where the not Warner Brothers, HBO Max is, God, I'm all over the place here. As far as HBO losing 50% of their subscribers post Game of Thrones, once Game of Thrones ended, let us know what you guys think about that down in the comment section below. Do you think it's because of was it more the dissatisfaction with the way the series ended, or do you think it was more of the fact that the show was over and that was the main reason that anybody was actually subscribed to the platform to begin with? And then John, like he had the most genius idea. Do you think it would have been better for them to just hold off and maybe have the Game of Thrones series ready to go for the HBO Max launch? And then people would know what HBO Max is and actually care about it. You know what I mean? I don't know. Let us know what you guys think about that down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So our next topic here is going to be talking about the premiere of Wonder Woman and how well it did for HBO Max themselves. There's been so much talk about HBO Max now that I'm stumbling upon the titles and the words. Just a lot of information going on here. But right now, a lot of people, when HBO Max and Warner Brothers had their whole announcement to put all their films straight to HBO Max in 2021 and all this, and they were going to start with Wonder Woman, everyone was curious as to like how well will it actually do for the service, and will it actually bring in new subscribers and in numbers that they actually want for the most part, because everybody knew that there was going to be some new subscribers, but is it going to be substantial enough for them to actually continue on and move forward with the entire slate of their 2021 movies, or will it be kind of all for naught? And we have some numbers. This is coming from the Hollywood Reporter that kind of showcase a little bit of that information here, and it also dictates a little bit of a comparison between Disney Plus and Soul. So the good news for Warner Brothers in some regards here in HBO Max is that the Wonder Woman film being released on HBO Max was the most streamed video, the most straight to streaming SVOD movie of the year. So I mean that's good. And it all sounds good and dandy. But then if you actually go
in a pandemic year, that sounds really good.
It does. It really does. It's good. I mean, I don't know. The only problem you have with it is when you start to actually look at the competition. And what was that bar that you had to pass? Because and like how many of how much higher would the number have been if, say, it didn't release in theaters in a lot of places? Because in international markets, it released in theaters, so a lot of people may have already seen it in theaters. Some theaters, like you went and saw it in theater as well, so you may have watched it again on HBO Max if you already had it. But there are some people out there who were able to go to a theater and watch it, and those people, this may not be like the significant factor, but a factor would be people already seeing it in theaters, maybe had no reason to sign up for HBO Max at this point. And again, those numbers might not be as astronomically high as you would think they would be. I don't know what the highest was before it, but it goes on to say that there was like 23% signed up for the streaming service just to watch Wonder Woman. But when you look at the actual percentages, it's like their overall number is like 28 million, as opposed to Disney Plus has 87 million. So 13% of 87 million is going to be probably around roughly the same as 23% or it's going to be smaller than 23% of 28 million. You know what I mean? So when you actually start to look at the percentages, it's like it sounds good, but you got to know what the base number is, and that's when it gets kind of confusing for everybody. But regardless, when you're looking at just kind of the blanket statement of like, at least there was an increase, that's good. I mean, at least I don't think it's the numbers they were really necessarily hoping for, but I think there's a lot of factors that actually go into it. Another one being that HBO Max, the launch they had where they were just finally able to get on Roku and Amazon devices like a month ago, and it's still not available in as many markets as Disney Plus is. So Disney Plus is just still dwarfing them in subscriber counts because they're available on more platforms. They were able to launch on more platforms. So it's just it's again just back to the mismanagement. But what do you guys think? Do you think that this is a good thing that Wonder Woman 84 was able to bring in at least some new subscribers for them? And then we're also going to be getting into, there's a whole breakdown in our next topic of like all the streaming numbers for all the companies and all the in comparison to the box office gross for 2020 compared to 2019. So stay tuned for that here. We're going to get into that in just a minute. It kind of segues into it. So, but what do you guys think of these initial numbers?
It's good for HBO Max that they could draw in numbers like that from one movie.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like we've been kind of saying, Disney Plus has been able to grow to 87 million subscribers with one show.
With one show, yeah. One really good show.
Yeah, one really good show. But I mean, it's just baffling, like that they were able to do that. And then, because I said this before too, man, like HBO Max, like on paper, they have more and arguably like overall better content than, it depends on who you are, I guess, but like it's all subjective. But like HBO Max, when compared to a Netflix and a Disney Plus and then a Peacock and all this stuff, like as far as quantity and quality, when you look at the best overall, it'd be hard to argue that HBO Max like isn't actually the best one.
Yeah.
Like with just what they have, how much of it is premium content and how much they have in general, it kind of dwarfs everybody else. Game of Thrones, Sopranos, like all these classic HBO like astronomical hits, right? The entire Warner Brothers catalog and whatnot. Like it's crazy because it's such a good service in all reality, but they've just squandered the launch for it. So, John, what do you think? These were good numbers, and you think they were wanting better than this 23% increase?
I mean, I guess publicly they have to promote this as a win. Having the number one streaming movie, I think that's something. Having the number one streaming movie for a pandemic year is something to hang your hat on. But obviously they're kind of scrambling still, and they're trying to find a way to prop up the thing. The other thing that this cat and mouse game these streaming companies play, and it's I blame Netflix because Netflix has done it the entire time they've been in existence. But this idea that they don't reveal their numbers is a little frustrating. I would think as an investor, if you were an investor, you would just hate that, and you would shy away from investing in these companies because you don't know the numbers. There's no good information out there about what is actually going on with these companies. But anyway, all that aside, I think that they must be at least somewhat pleased with Wonder Woman 84's performance. Otherwise, they wouldn't have greenlit Wonder Woman 3. They wouldn't be talking it up as the most streamed movie. I think all that put together, they're happy with it. I don't think we'll ever know. We'll never know, what the theoretical box office for that movie would have been had it not. There was an article the other day that talked about why the reception to Wonder Woman 84 was so poor among not just critics, but among the general audience. And one of the things that they pointed out was a lot of people consumed Wonder Woman 84 in a method that is not typical for most major releases. They consumed it while sitting on their couch, holding their phone, and live tweeting their reactions. So anytime some couch critic felt like they didn't like something or the way that something was played out, they could tweet it out, and then that was instant bias that was being sent out to other people who were either getting ready to watch it or maybe watching at the same time, versus the traditional method where people go sit in a theater, they see the movie and they take it all in as a total, the totality of the film at one sitting without any outside opinions or influence, and then they kind of go in and adjust their opinions after the fact. But they've already got that first impression from having viewed it, unfiltered or I don't know if unfiltered is the right way, but without that other input coming in. So I do think that was an interesting take on why the reaction was so different, and I think we'll never know if that reaction, if the negative reaction we're seeing to the movie would have translated into a negative box office.
I think I also read something similar too, where it was I can't remember if this was like an actual like statistical analysis kind of thing or a theory, if you will. But they were similarly going on to say that a lot of people, because they watched it from home on their couch and everything, they didn't get the overall just movie theater experience,
Yeah,
and
it's
which makes the movie. I don't, and I agree with it in some ways to where like when you watch a movie at home and you watch a movie in theaters with a big crowd and all that stuff, like your experience will be different,
oh, definitely.
for better or for worse. But I don't agree because they were going on to say that that was like the main reason that like a lot of people don't like the movie was that like you
You don't
watched it
have
on
that
your
same
TV,
experience, yeah.
yeah, and you miss out on the experience, and you're just there, you're watching it. And who knows? I mean, like how many times did you pause the movie? How many times did you get up and go? How distracted were you? Like, did you actually like absorb the movie in like you would traditionally and all that
Yeah,
stuff?
you're not directly focusing on it.
Yeah, which I'm sure is an effect. But I don't think, 'cause, like, I didn't like the movie, like, straight up, and it wasn't because I didn't watch it in theaters. I didn't like the movie. Like,
Yeah.
it's, that's just how it is. But I'm willing to accept that, like, that was definitely something that had an effect on a lot of people's viewing experience. Because it's like there's some scenes even in the movie, and like most movies, the directors make these movies to be played in theaters. Like that's what they're made for. And there's plenty of scenes that like I would have much rather seen in the theater if I could have, like the first flight scene, the ship, or not the ship, but the jet scene, and they're flying through the fireworks and all. There's a lot of good imagery in there, like the mascara scene, a lot of things like that. Yeah, I would have loved to have seen it on the big screen. It's not going to make a bad movie a good movie, like you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I get that.
but I could definitely see it affecting people's overall just initial impressions and viewpoint on it for sure. Because like it is in kind of an uncontrollable environment. It's an unknown variable, because you don't know. No, there's just a lot of things that go into it, as opposed to you're in the movie theater, you're focused on the movie.
You're just sitting there
Yeah,
focused on it,
yeah,
yeah.
that's what you're doing. You paid to be there. You're focused. That's why you're there. So I definitely think it has an effect, 100%. The one thing too that just to add in here before we move on to the next one, it wasn't just the highest, the most streamed movie. It actually was the box office winner, apparently. Or is this just over the weekend? Or is this over the off weekend debut? No, that's the top debut of any film since the pandemic struck in March. So an opening weekend of 16.7 million domestically is the biggest domestic opening we've had all year.
Good for them, though,
Yeah,
with
I mean,
everything that's been going on.
that just goes to show you, like, how, and we'll get into this here in another article, that just goes to show you how bad the theater industry was hit, man. $16 million opening weekend for a comic book movie. A successful franchise second installment of a comic book movie. Like, this is something that typically would have made anywhere from 100, 200 million opening weekend, and you're looking at number 1 at, 16 million. Very
I think
small.
100 to 125 million opening for Wonder Woman 84 would have been realistic
Yeah, I agree.
had the pandemic not been.
Yeah. I think a minimum one, because I think even Joker was like 85. I might be
Yeah.
wrong on it, but I think that was about where it was, 60 to 80, and that's pretty standard for, like I feel like that's on par
Well,
with, like, the Ant-Man movies and things like that, like, these big ones, they make about 80 to 100, and that's a stellar opening weekend.
yeah.
50 million is a great opening weekend for most movies. just these ones, I mean, even Warner Brothers expected this movie to make around $1 billion. That's why they paid Gal and Patty 10 million. You know, they're 1% back end points off the movie. So they definitely expected it to do big numbers. And I mean, given the situation, it was your highest domestic grossing opening weekend all year. So it did do big numbers to some extent when you look at it in that way. So that's good. I think overall, despite the I don't know, the funkiness you can play with the percentages because, you know, they're comparing Soul and how many people signed up for Disney Plus just to watch Soul. That's 13% off of, you know, 90 million as opposed to the 23% off of, you know, like 30 million for HBO. So, I mean, the
Yeah, if
numbers
you
are a
if
little
you
bit wonkier, but
if you take those percentages based off of their off of what we think their subscriber base is, you're looking at 6.44 million new subscribers to HBO Max. But Soul, at a lower percentage, is still more viewers at 11.24
yeah,
million additions. You're talking about almost five. Was that five? Almost six additional million subscribers for Disney, but the percentage comes out lower because their install base was already bigger.
exactly. Yeah. So that's why it's like when you start to look at the numbers, was it really all that good? But I think regardless, any increase for HBO is good
Yeah.
because that's what they're hurting at right now. So a little unfair to compare it to Disney in some ways. Sure, maybe, but I mean that is what we're here for. Or at least that's what this article is about: comparing the numbers. And that'd be the name of the game right now if these films were traditionally opening in the box office. So we'd be comparing their opening weekends, and it is pretty good for Soul too. I mean, let's give a shout out to Disney for and Pixar really to have
Yeah.
that much pull to actually get 13% of like you said, like about 11 million people to sign up just for the Pixar movie. That's pretty good.
It's not bad.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's real good. So, but yeah, that's about it. That's it for all that. That is it for that topic, guys. What do you think about HBO Max at least having some sort of improvement on their subscriber base with the HBO or not with the Wonder Woman going straight to HBO Max? I mean, because that's obviously what they were aiming for. But do you think that they're actually like a little bit disappointed in the numbers, regardless of it being a success and then being the top streamed movie of 2020 and then having the highest domestic box office opening of 2020? Do you think, even though they get to say they have those titles, do you think they were obviously wishing for more or even expected more? Let us know what you think down in the comment section below. All right, guys. So our final topic here is a bit of a mixture of a couple different topics. We got some rather lengthy articles have came out about just the overall like subscriber count between all these streaming services, the impact that the pandemic has had on the streaming services, and the impact that it has had on the box office in general. So I'm gonna link both of these like two primary articles in the description down below. So if you want to actually read them in depth, if you're really into these kind of things, it's a lot of like number crunch and stuff. So a lot of people find it boring. So we're not going to cover like these very in-depth articles like in their entirety, but I'm going to focus on just a couple of these numbers here just to kind of highlight uh some of these numbers are pretty incredible when you actually see them as far as just the overall. I don't know, in some ways things were good for like the streaming services and everything, but then you compare that to the box office and there's a significant difference in success there, and it's I don't know, it's very interesting. So we're gonna pull this up. We're gonna just get into this right now here, and the first one that we are going to get into is the HBO Max set a because I kept saying a couple like during the last couple segments, like we got articles we're gonna get into. Don't worry, we got articles we're gonna get into. We're gonna cover this in a little bit. This is one of them. As far as the HBO Max and Disney Plus, when kind of like we were just talking about before with Wonder Woman coming out on HBO Max, like how much did it actually help? And apparently, there was 554,000 users who signed up just on the Friday to Sunday period. So that gives us some indication, like we were talking about before, like, we just had the percentages to go off of, and even when you look at the percentages, it's like, I think we come up to, like, 11 million for Disney Plus, and then, what was it, like, 6 million for Warner Brothers. Like, the numbers are just too finicky for anybody to really try to digest, because we don't have the actual viewer counts from these people being with streaming services, because they just don't release the information. Like, so it's really hard. I'm sure they release it to, like, the people who own stock. I mean, unless maybe like the high enough, if you're high enough on the totem pole as far as a shareholder, you probably get that information. But I don't know why they just don't release the numbers. And it's probably because, in all honesty, like, if you guys remember, Netflix started counting like a view of being like, what was it, man? It was something ridiculous. Like, if they watched 1 minute of something,
the first
Right.
3
Yeah.
minutes of a show or something.
yeah,
That
it's
counts as a
like,
view.
that's like it's
Mhm.
kept auto playing, and you didn't realize that it, like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that should count.
Yeah, but it counts. That's when Netflix will count. So it's like when Netflix comes out and says, like, this was our highest viewed thing. It's like, what does that really mean?
Yeah,
Like,
it's a little
it's
divisive.
gonna watch that for just to, like, take a dump and then turn it off. Like, I don't know. Regardless, this is a pretty big number, just indicating that there's been 554, 500,000 users sign up in just a weekend. That's pretty good. I mean, that gives a better indication of
That's
what
not bad.
what we were talking about in the previous segment. Like, it gives us a better idea. And then this is like stuck behind a paywall on Bloomberg, so like, you got enough money, Bloomberg. So I'm not going to support that. We're going to move on here to Deadline. And like, this article, this is the one that I'm going to link in the description below. And then this next one, so just look out for these two from Deadline, and these are both from Deadline. One's the box office one, one's the streaming one. But this one there's a ton of information here. And like I said, I'm not going to cover everything because we'll be here all night. But there are some like tidbits here that I just want to focus on. And this little segment here was in reference to HBO Max. And it kind of goes in hand with what we were saying before, where no one knows what HBO Max even is. Like, we all know because we're all in this world. But this article goes and breaks down that there's literally, what was the percentage here? Let me just see. So let me just read this first before I start going off track. I'm just going to get confused. So this goes on to say that, one, Disney had, despite Disney having like far more subscribers because their pay rate, like the amount they charge for their service, it's still essentially netting them like nothing, essentially, because it's so cheap. So like, they're starting with a subscription increase by $1. I guess come March of next year, they're going to
Not
increase
bad.
everything up. Yeah, and then eventually it's going to go up even higher. But I think that's cool on Disney's part, at least, is to start with $1 and then kind of go from there. But this one here, so because of a complex model the company executives concede has been an obstacle in the early going, most paying HBO subscribers have not yet activated their HBO Max subscriptions, which are available to them at no additional cost. So, point being, if you already had the regular HBO service, like you paid it through your cable provider, you had it as an add-on in Amazon Prime, whatever it was. Like, if you bought HBO, had HBO Go, had HBO Now, whatever it was, if you had one of the pre-existing HBO services, you actually have HBO Max. You require no additional like signing up. There's nothing else you need to sign up for. All you have to do is sign into HBO Max with the same credentials you would have signed into before. And there's only been, like, that's where they go on to say, where's the number here? So as of October,
Okay, go ahead.
you're good. Oh, let me finish this one because I'm going to lose place. There's so much information on this stupid thing. But as of October, there were about 3.6 million direct retail subscribers to HBO Max. So that means 3.6 million people sought out the HBO Max application and actually signed up and paid for it through that platform. So then by December, they were up to 12.6 million activations across HBO customers and retail subscribers. So we know that we can kind of get a rough number on that just based on like they were supposedly at about 28 million total. So between the month of just in the month of December, they've had 12.6 of their overall subscriber base. If we're looking at this correctly, because the previous article said they were at 28 million total subscribers. 12.6 of those subscribers just signed up in December. So they have gained about a third of their overall totals just as much. So if you want to look at it from that perspective, then Wonder Woman 84 definitely played a substantial role in that. Like obviously, there was no other reason to sign up for an HBO or for HBO other than Wonder Woman 84 in December. What were you going to say?
Well, you had mentioned that only a fraction of their HBO subscribers had converted over to the HBO Max subscriptions,
Mhm.
even though for a lot of them it was included. I'll just say, as someone that was in that boat, I was an HBO Now subscriber. I think it was HBO Now was the standalone subscription one,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
So I was in HBO. I was in HBO Go when I had HBO on as part of my cable package, and then when I got rid of cable like a decade ago, I switched over to HBO Now. And then when I went to, obviously, I wanted to go from HBO Now to HBO Max because I wanted all the additional content with HBO Max. And when I tried to make that switch, when I tried to change my billing and go on to HBO Max and subscribe to their platform and get that switch made over, it was virtually impossible. I had to contact customer service at HBO like I think 3 different times. I had my HBO Now payment going through Amazon's web services, so I had to cancel that and then contact HBO Max like I think it was like 3 times before I was able, because it was telling me that my credentials
Ridiculous.
were already tied to a different HBO account, and so I couldn't subscribe to the HBO Max account. It was a big headache, and so I'm not surprised at all to hear that a lot of HBO customers have not converted to HBO Max.
Oh yeah, like
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't even know that it was like
Yeah.
problematic in that level because I didn't have any problems because like it's really weird because I used to have HBO through my cable provider and I'm still late and then I got it through Amazon just through Prime. Like I just had like the add-on for $15 a month or whatever it was because it was
Mhm.
cheaper than having HBO through my cable provider. I have internet cable bundled, so it's just I don't pay extra for cable. I don't have cable anymore, so I'm just calling on my cable provider. Um, but either way, I had it through there, but then I stopped paying for it through there because they charge like $18, $19 a month for it, and it was only 15 to get it through Amazon. So I switched over, but I'm still able to sign in to HBO Max using my cable provider login. So I think I'm just getting it for free right now.
That's
I can just sign
pretty
into it.
cool.
Yeah, so I'm just like, so if you're watching this, and you're working with I'm not gonna name my cable provider so you can't shut me down. So I'm not saying nothing. You didn't hear anything from me. John, I think you froze again. And let me see if I can find this other like there was one other piece of news here. Because like I said, this article is just way too big. With it, it's a good read if you want to actually take a look at some of this stuff. Like it goes on to say that like Peacock was able to amass like 26 million users, but that's not the premium. Like, because Peacock is both free and they have a paid tier, but they haven't released what the actual paid tier is. So, like we said, these streaming services don't have to release their numbers and they don't like to do it. Even Netflix, who we know is killing it, is they have almost 200 million subscribers, but they're still very shady on the information that they actually do release. And it's the same way with like Peacock and all this stuff. But because they have that free service, then I mean that's why they've gotten. I mean, The Office is on Peacock, so there's the 26 million people. They're just watching The
Right,
Office.
right.
Like that's literally what it is. Um, what do we see here? So the number of households subscribing to multiple streaming services reached 61%, up from 48% in 2019. So I mean that's huge. Like, and that's just because due to the pandemic, and that's why like they've been like the streaming services have been like popping off. Where was this number for Disney? Because there was something that showed that Disney despite not being able to release their films theatrically this year, their stocks and everything have gone up in 2020, regardless of not having, with their theme parks being shut down, with no movies, or not no movies, but most of Disney movies having to forego having any sort of theatrical run due to Disney Plus, essentially. Disney stock has still managed to become more valuable now than it was in 2019, which is crazy. Which again it just goes to show the direct to consumer is what they're focusing on and why.
That last sentence where in that paragraph where your cursor is, the company says Disney Plus will reach 230 to 260 million subscribers by 2024, quadrupling its annual content spending to at least 8 billion by that time. That's incredible.
I know. Like it goes to show you why that all these companies, like, that's why it seems like a crazy move and like a shitty move by HBO and Warner Brothers just to say we're putting everything on HBO Max. Like, everything's going there. Like, this is why they see these numbers.
Why would HBO Max not? If Disney has been so successful in it and they're trending in this right direction, I'm still a little confused why HBO Max set their price point at such a higher amount than Disney Plus. I mean, they said higher than Netflix, right? Out of the gate. I'm assuming it has something to do with what people were paying for HBO before time. And I'm guessing it might also have to do with cable subscriptions and how much people have to pay for HBO through their cable provider. Maybe they didn't want to undercut the cable providers, but at this point, God, when you're talking about that kind of revenue, undercut your cable provider. Cable companies are dead. I'm sorry, but you're dead in the water. AT&T is. 100%. That's why they're buying HBO Max and stuff, or why they're buying Warner Brothers, is to get these other ad revenues, because they know the cable services are DOA almost at this point.
Oh yeah,
and that is 100% the biggest reason that they're like so far behind right now, is because there was too much of a confusion between what the platform even is, HBO Max. And even existing customers like yourself who tried to activate the new platform with your existing account ran into too many issues to even do it. But on top of that, their price point it's $15 to $20 depending on, like, what you were getting before, right? And had they launched their HBO Max platform as Warner Plus or Warner Brothers Plus or whatever, and had a more Disney to Netflix level price point for it, and we're able to then market Warner Brothers Plus with DC and HBO and Looney Tunes, and actually have your brands underneath that, with HBO being one of the brands included with your Warner Brothers Plus platform at, let's say, at $10 a month, they would not be trailing this far behind right now.
Yeah.
Everybody would see that you have instantly more value by signing up for this Warner Brothers Plus platform than you would keeping HBO Now, Go, or HBO or whatever, because HBO is more expensive, and if I get this for a year, it's only $10, like, and then it'll go up to $15, like, and then it goes back to their normal $15 a month for HBO, because that's exactly why it was the same price, because it's the same platform. HBO Max is just what HBO Go was and HBO Now was, just with the new stuff on it. But no one knows that. It's the same price, so there's nothing to differentiate with it, and it has the same damn name. Like, had they come out and said $10 a month, you get this, HBO's included, and you get it all for, a year, like whatever it may be, we would not have we would have lost a lot of content complaining about HBO.
And the other thing they could have done is they could have played on the nostalgia of everybody that has grown. I mean, everybody in the world that's interested in movies and entertainment has grown up with Warner Brothers pictures, and they could have played off of all the classic Warner Brothers pictures that have come out over there. They could have shown trailers featuring all their big movies throughout the years. Just little segments that really touch that nostalgia, and then they could have shown all the cool new stuff that was coming up at the end of it and show how it all was in one area. Instead instead they went with this HBO thing that just, like you said, doesn't make sense.
Dude, it was a huge that because again, that's more marketing gold. It's like you play to the nostalgia. You just have the movie trailer voice guy come over and start. You got the trailer playing, and you're saying like it shows like the Matrix code, and it's like
Yep.
go the experience Warner Brothers classics.
Warner
And it's
Brothers
like
classics.
yeah, it's like in a whole new
For,
way.
for decades, we've brought you,
Yeah,
the
like
thrills of
this.
the thrills of your life,
Yeah,
and
Right.
now we're going to bring you them in a whole new way. And
yeah, under one simple platform. There's like
Yeah.
one click away.
Yeah, their marketing
Like,
sucked.
yeah, the marketing for this was just there was none. It was just HBO Max is out. And it's like, cool, what is it?
Word of mouth almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no one knows what the hell it was. It wasn't wasn't available everywhere. Still not available internationally in a lot of places. Like that's another thing too, where like their subscriber counts, like again, they weren't on Roku, they weren't on Amazon. The two biggest, most used streaming platform devices, and then they're still at this point not in all the international markets that Disney's in. So it's no surprise that they are so far behind in subscriber count, but this is just more of a failure on Warner Brothers and HBO's end because they shouldn't have released a damn platform in this fashion. Like, because I don't know, everything else is just kind of suffering for it because they're trying to play catch up, kind of like the DC films were. Like they're trying to play catch up with Marvel and just start throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, instead of just focusing on like making a product that's good and like
Yeah.
not confusing to the consumer. It's just, I mean, granted, we're just a couple of guys sitting here talking about a bunch of shit that we're not a part of, and it's real easy to play, what is it, the Monday morning quarterback or the couch
Quarterback,
quarterback,
yep.
whatever the
Yeah.
hell it is. Like, it's real easy for everybody to do it. It's real easy to see the problems and come up with solutions afterward. I get that. But a lot of this just seems like kind of brain dead common sense. Like,
Really, yeah. That's
like,
what I was
you know
gonna
what I
say.
mean?
It's like there's like no common sense with it at all.
Like, half this shit, we just come off with off the top of the head, off the cuff, and it's like it all sounds like it would have been better, like better ways of going about it.
Right.
But and then the other one here, because that's just like I said again, guys. I'll have the link to this article in the description, but it's just a lot more information like that. Like, yeah, here's the thing where Disney stock rose 24% in 2020, which is an all-time high. Like during the pandemic, like that's so it's like I get why
And then you
HBO
can-
wants to do this. Like,
Yeah, and then you compare that to what their losses were for this year, and like it's astounding to think of that their stock went up that much.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's insane, and it's because of like their focus on streaming. Like everybody who is an investor in Disney, they know that they're going to be with that projection of having 240 million subscribers and all that stuff. They know that's going to happen. They're confident it's going to happen. They see the results now.
Quadrupling your earnings. Yeah, quadrupling your earnings over your investments. That's incredible.
Exactly. It's just I don't know. So yeah, I mean, if you're a big shareholder in Disney, congratulations.
Right.
Like, you're
Future is
already
bright.
yeah, you're already probably in a pretty good spot, but in 4 more years,
Things are only getting better.
yeah, for sure. So let's talk about these box office hits real quick, and then we'll wrap this up. And again, guys, I'm gonna have these articles down in the description below. So if you wanna take a deeper dive into this stuff, it's a lot of numbers games, but it's interesting when you look at it. So this little graph here we have, it just shows you the amount of money at the box office these movies. This is domestic box office and the changes that each production company has had, and it's like pretty astronomical. Like everything's down 50 and in some cases 90%. And granted, like we said with the other percentage game you have to play, like 90% of a loss in revenue for Lionsgate is vastly different than a 90% loss for Disney.
Yeah.
Disney made like almost 13 billion at the box office. That's billion with a B in 2019. So them losing, they're down 90% of that. Like that's a substantial loss. Like at the box office, like you're looking at like they made like 2 billion or something, like, you know what I mean? Which is funny when you look at this overall number. it almost like I don't. It's like it only came from like Disney and Sony, and like even you. This just no one made any money this year.
It's been a tough year.
Yeah, but yeah, like 90% for Lionsgate is nowhere near as bad as 90% for Sony. I mean, granted, it's all relative, right? Because Lionsgate doesn't have as much money as Disney,
No,
so
yeah, they're smaller.
I mean, it kind of is what it is. But I mean, again, the overall total domestic box office gross for the entire year is averaging to about 2.2 billion, as opposed to, like I said, Disney made like 13 billion by themselves last year. That gives you any indication on where the theater industry is. So it's like obviously no surprise that AMC is like on life support right now. Like, what else do we have here? Overall, trying to find there was one other good thing here. I think the crazier part here too is actually like how well in air quotes like Sony did. I think that's what they're showing here. Like Sony, it was like pretty much they were kind of positioned in the best spot right now as far as box office, the end of the year box office for them, because they were they put enough into it and got enough out of it in 2020 to make their this year or for when in comparison to the 2019 year, they almost had the same amount, and since so they didn't have to there's quite as many losses as everybody else did, so them not spending as much in 2019, this kind of worked out for them. Kind of same with Paramount. They didn't spend nearly as much, so they only had like a 68% loss. So I mean it is what it is.
Well, he's looking at that for you novice investors out there. Be careful at the end of this year too when you go look at the percentage increases for these companies, because if things do get back on track, you're going to see, while you saw these giant losses this year, you're going to see equally giant increases at the end of next year.
Yeah.
It's going to be a skewed number. What you really need to compare to is go back a year to 2019 and kind of it's an outlier. These are going to be outliers, these numbers that we're getting the next couple years here.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, you're gonna see like commercials or like reports come out or something saying that like, yeah, Sony's earnings are up 200
million%. Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, it's like 2 movies come out the year before.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh man.
Their opening weekend for their first movie post pandemic is going to do more than their entire 2020 schedule did. So
Exactly. Oh man. Yeah, definitely look out for that. That's funny. You know they're gonna market with that stuff too, and I can't blame them.
Oh yeah.
I can't blame them. I can't find what else I was looking for in this necessarily off the top of my head. But like again, guys, I'll have this stuff in the description below, so you can go take a deeper look at it. It's just it's a ton of information. So, is there anything else you guys wanted to add on this? I just think it's crazy that box office wise, I think this is a huge indication.
It'll just be interesting, I think, to see at the end of 2021 how much it's hopefully increased, assuming that 2021 is better than 2020, but that could be the complete opposite.
That's a good question, given like Warner Brothers, especially their shift to wanting to put everything on streaming. And granted, the pandemic still is a question mark. You know, we don't know when everything's gonna, if and when things are gonna go back to normal, just like health wise, let alone the just shift to streaming for all these companies. For at least the ones that have them, your Paramount, your Paramount's moving all the CBS All Access stuff to Paramount Plus. They're doing what Warner Brothers should have done with HBO Max. They're branding their platform off of the company of Paramount, because they tried CBS All Access and they see that it's failing, and they're just going to change it to Paramount Plus. Makes sense. Stupid, yeah, because everything's just X plus. But it's been ingrained into the consumer's mind that they know that's a streaming service now, so that's just the way you go.
Yeah,
it makes sense. So it's going to be interesting to see how 2021 is with the additional outliers of the theater industry. Are we going to even be able to go to the theaters? And then how much stuff is going to be just transitioned over to streaming, because they can't push stuff back again. Like, they can't like, all these movies that, like it's already, like, gonna be a super stacked year with everything that they've had to push back from 2020 to 2021, and they can't just sit on these movies, like, financially, they're already accruing interest on the loans that these, like, Disney took out to make, Black Widow, right? That was supposed to come out in July. They're having to pay interest on this movie and all those loans that they had to take to make the damn movie. They can't just push it back another year. It's just gonna become way too expensive for them to do it, and it's not like just Black Widow. I'm just using that one example. If they have 10 movies they made last year that they were supposed to come out, they borrowed the money to make it. So them not putting it out in theaters is them or not putting it out anywhere for PVOD or whatever it is. They're not making money. So they can't just keep pushing it back. They're gonna have to release it in some fashion. So
Yeah.
do you have anything to add, John? I thought you were gonna say something. And I may have just rambled on.
No, it's fine. No,
Okay.
I think we've covered most of
Okay.
what I was looking at.
All right, good deal. Well, I think that pretty much covers it, guys. Again, check the description for these articles if you want to take a deeper dive into them. It's a lot of information. So if you're into it, I'll put them in there. And then don't forget a couple things here. One, you can submit topics and questions to the show by emailing us at honestanduneducated@gmail.com. That's honestanduneducated@gmail.com. Elsewise, I'm gonna have like I said on top of the show, we're bringing the statue and figure reviews back. We're gonna start doing those. I'm not gonna say that they're gonna be one a week because I'm not gonna commit to anything like that because I don't want to not have it come out and then get called out about it. In an effort to not disappoint, I'm just gonna say they're coming back. And the first one's gonna be the Prestige Batman from Arkham Knight. So look out for that. I'll probably put up an unboxing first. I haven't decided if I'm gonna do the unboxing completely separate from the review. I think what I'm gonna do is do the unboxing and do a quick review, and then do like a showcase. Like if you go back and look at the couple of statue reviews I did, for a couple of them, I uploaded a separate just statue showcase, which was just shots of the statue essentially. I'll probably do something like that. I'll do the unboxing, do a review, and then upload like a little montage of just the thing in high res or something. I don't know. Just let me know what you'd like to see, at least as far as the overall format of the reviews. What's the most appealing to you? Let me know now in the comment section below for that. Elsewise, Rick, where can everybody find you online, sir?
Right down here, Sir Rick Metz, RIKMETZ. I'm on Instagram, and I should probably make a Twitter, but I don't know what I'd have to say really.
Dude, I got a Twitter and an Instagram, and I barely do anything with them. I just have them because you're just supposed to have them.
Yeah, I haven't used Instagram in forever.
Yeah,
but you can follow me.
Yeah, I know that's what I always say. I'm just like, well, you can follow me, here, but I don't know if I'll see it. Like, but you should still follow me because maybe I'll start using it more often if people actually like.
Yeah,
if
they had more interaction, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe people would want to if I actually used it more too. So maybe it's partly my fault. But I don't know. I'm trying to do this, like other stuff to do. I don't know. It is what it is. John, where can everybody find you online?
I'm over at Twitter at Nightwing_J. I should probably look into expanding out to Instagram, but for now I'm over at Twitter, and feel free to drop your thoughts or comments on things I have said in the videos there.
There we go. And on top of the statue reviews and everything and the Hot Toys reviews coming out, I'm getting the custom lightsabers in soon. I got some more information on that coming. Rick is getting one too, so we'll probably have a breakdown of one of those actually pretty soon too. At some point here, you're supposed to have it in like this week,
Wednesday,
right?
Yeah.
So look out for that. Be on the lookout for that, and then plenty more to come. So. Elsewise, though, you can follow me just at Sir Rob Bifo. And again, let me know what kind of reviews you want to see, at least the format of the reviews. Would you rather have a separate unboxing, just the first reaction of just the unboxing, and then a separate review after I've had some more time to fiddle with it? Or would you rather just all be as like a first impressions kind of thing? Let me know. Let me know down in the comments. And look out for that. Like and subscribe. Do all the good stuff. Look out for the live streams. We've been playing some stuff. Just lots of video games and whatnot. So we'll do that more. All the good stuff. So, I don't know. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching again. Like and subscribe. Take care.